That's awesome. Hey everyone, welcome back to another mountain road ride, gravel ride of the week. Now today is a beautiful spring day here in Northern Virginia, and I've got quite a big ride lined up for today. You can see the bike kitted out there in the background. So what I want to do today is go for my very first gravel century ride. Now it's 100 miles, not the metric century, yeah, you might be thinking, well, this guy rides his bike all the time, surely he must have done a gravel century at some point. Well, actually no, if you go back on all the gravel ride of the week videos that I've done on this channel, then you'll see that most of them sort of max out at around 60 miles. Now that's sort of been my kind of barrier that I've always bumped up against, but I have got a big bikepacking trip coming up, and I'll be sure to put it on this channel in the future as well, and that is why I wanted to come out here today to really test out my equipment. You can see I've got the saddlebags on there today, I've got all the other bags on there. So what today is all about is about not only seeing if I can go the distance, but also testing out some equipment. So I want to cover today in this video for you a couple of pointers that I'm going to look at, mainly three things. I think, for me, if you're planning on going on your first big gravel adventure, 100 miles sort of capacity, then you want to be looking at three things essentially: the gear that you're going to be taking along, then also the nutrition, so that we're going to cover in this video as well, and then thirdly, it's the mental aspect of it as well, because I think, for me, as I said, it's all about kind of pushing out that mental barrier of being able to go longer and further during the ride. So we're going to be covering that as well in this video. So I'm going to take you along. I'll cover those three aspects as we ride along. I'll point out some of the pieces of kit that I've added to the bike. I'll mention some of the nutrition that I'm using on this day, and then we'll see how I cope with it by the end of it from a mental capacity. Alright, other than that, it's going to be a beautiful day out there. I'm going to show you some awesome gravel roads around here in Loudoun County. Let's get started. Alright, so let's just take a quick look at this bike setup. So you can see I've got my saddlebag on there today. It's not completely loaded at all. In fact, I've just got a couple of light pieces of gear in there just to give it some form, so I can get used to this on the bike. This is actually the first time I'm using this. This is the Relevant Designs spine lock bag. Comes highly rated for its stability, and I can really attest to that even just from shaking it. There is no wiggle in this bag, so I'm very happy with that already. We'll see how it does over 100 miles of riding today. Up front, I've got my top tube bag that is just mostly today for camera gear that I'm going to put in there, and then I've got a front bag in the front for food. Now, unfortunately, because I am a video blogger, I have to take the camera along, which makes this baggie a little less accessible, but that is the price that comes with being a YouTuber. So we are gonna have all our food in there, but other than that, I think I'm well stocked, and I've also designed my route to be able to pit stop halfway through to get some meal refreshments halfway into the ride as well. So this is going to be an exciting day, and let's get out there, put these pieces of equipment to the test. This is going to be a good one. 100 miles of beautiful Loudoun County gravel. Gotta love it. Woo! Beautiful horse farm country here in Bluemont, Virginia. Wow. It's time to start thinking about the nutrition as well. Woo! Just about an hour in now. And yeah, I'm just gonna go on the rule of every hour I need to eat something. If I'm feeling hungry or not, just keep on taking in the calories. Yeah, that way I make sure I sustain my energy throughout the entire day, not run into the red at all. So about 2 hours into the ride, time to start thinking about some more food. I think this time we're gonna go for that peanut butter sandwich. I'm an old schooler when it comes to bike nutrition. Don't give me all that sugary junk. I want just a plain old PB&J. Yeah, so Kristen whipped together this sourdough bread the other day in the kitchen. She's a pretty handy cook, and I get obviously all the benefit from that because I get some homemade, wholesome food. So that's surely coming in handy today. Thank you. Alright, so this is the good lesson that I'm learning. Yeah, this top tube bag officially doesn't work for me. And that's why I came out here to test this stuff. I've now had consistent rubs on my legs, so kind of getting a few cuts here from the top tube bag. So what I'm going to do now, and this is why I traveled light today with the saddle bag, just going to take that top tube bag and stick it in there, worry about it after the ride. Have to find another solution to carry a little bit more stuff on the bike. Most likely I'll just go with a fanny pack. I can handle stuff around my waist, but I need my legs to be able to move. Let's get this top tube bag in the saddle bag. This is what makes it all worthwhile, being out here on these wonderful secluded gravel trails. Yes, this is why we do it. This is what makes bikepacking and long gravel rides so worthwhile. So the way I designed this route was to build in a nice little pit stop that takes me back to the car where I parked it, so that I can restock on some water, get some good food. There's some nice food containers waiting for me at the car, so I'm gonna eat that once I get there, before I kick on with the second part, or let's say the last third of this ride. Time for some yummy food. So let's see what we've got. So once again, Kristen has been phenomenal with prepping and helping me prep for this ride. Last night she made some pizza. As I mentioned earlier, I had the sourdough bread, but she also made a sourdough crust for pizza. So that's what I've got in my baggie. There's some chicken on it, bacon, feta, avo. Man, can you want anything else during a ride? That's pretty good. And then also we have some homemade smoothie here, so that is also a recipe that you can find on our blog if you're interested. All right, let's dig in. Smoothie time. I'm not gonna waste time on that one. Woo! Alright, we're back on the road and back on the gravel. Alright, so I think at this point the mental game is going to come into effect. And it really was very worthwhile to break it up with that pit stop right at the point where I normally would end my rides, you know, at that 60-mile marker. And now to have the 40 left, it doesn't feel too daunting, you know. It's kind of like you got to put it in your head, okay, I'm just going out for a 40-mile ride right now. We can't have a 100-mile gravel ride without incorporating Mountain Road, the famous Mountain Road. Yes. It's sights like that that get you into the mental game to finish off a long ride. Yeah, wow, it's been so good to be out on these gravel roads today with views like that. I mean, that is just absolutely spectacular. Getting closer to the end of our stretch on the gravel now, and also we're a mile away from hitting that 100-mile marker. So I am excited to have done this today. That was something I've had on my list for a while, and yeah, bucket list item ticked. That feels so good to see right now. I don't know if you can see it. 160 kilometers clocked, 100 miles done. Yes. Wow, that was an experience. I actually didn't think it would go as well as it did. So let's touch on those three things that I mentioned at the beginning of this video. So first of all, nutrition. I think that was just a case of staying on top of it. I had nothing fancy in my water bottles either. I didn't mention that throughout the video, but that was just a few electrolyte mix. And then as you saw throughout the video, I basically used a couple of Cliff Bars to supplement the food intake that I had throughout the ride, but I mostly stuck with some good wholesome homemade food, and I must say that really made a big difference. It gave me that sustained energy throughout the ride, and I think that made a big difference in what I could achieve out there today. In terms of the gear, you saw that I switched up the bag on the top tube and threw that in the back. So that is something that I'm going to have to look at in the future. The front end bag, that works perfectly. This thing has done a great job through multiple rides on me already. And then the big surprise, and I think the star of the show in terms of this new gear setup that I'm using to try and practice for upcoming bikepacking trip, is this saddlebag. This thing is just absolutely phenomenal, this Revelet designs, and the stability that you get with this thing has been absolutely amazing throughout today's ride. So very happy with this setup for sure. And then lastly, let's just check in with that mental aspect now. Towards the end of the ride, it actually wasn't as bad as I expected. I think, you know, from a physical standpoint, I felt better than I expected. That made it easier mentally. But then my big sort of key piece of advice that I can give when you are doing a long endurance event is to look for those little positive things, you know, whether it was a text message from my wife, whether it was looking at the beautiful natural surroundings. I had to look for little things to keep my mind engaged and keep it positive throughout the ride right up to the end. So overall, I am very happy with this ride. Definitely went much better than I expected, and I'm excited about that upcoming bike trip. Do stay tuned to this channel for some really exciting bikepacking videos in the future. Alright, so with that, thanks for riding along with me today, and hopefully there was a little bit of info in there that could also be helpful for you to complete your next gravel century. That's it from my side. I'm Vian. Until next time, enjoy your ride.